Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, April 24. I'm speaking to you from the Georgetown Room at Wolfington Hall, the Jesuit residence on the university campus where I live. I will be sending you an agenda for this coming Sunday's meeting, probably tomorrow, but I'm preparing this video to give you an overview of that meeting in case this is a helpful mode of communication between you and me. We are now scheduled to meet in McKenna Hall at 4 p.m. on Sunday. I'm going to try to have us seated at round tables to facilitate small group discussion. I'm hoping that Zoom will be available. As you know, parking in Georgetown is always terrible, but if you can possibly be here to engage face-to-face, that's always an advantage. My general plan is that we'll start as close to 4 as possible, cover a couple of logistics, and then I'd like to start the next section by giving you a sense of my sense of a pilgrimage and see what you might have to say about it. I've given you a couple of different formulations of it. Here's the one that's in the agenda. My understanding is that a pilgrimage can help us break out of our usual life patterns and give us new space to think and to reflect about matters of importance. And in that new space, I hope we can be inspired by St. Paul, by Scripture, by the places we're visiting, by our Eastern companions in the faith, so that we can engage Jesus in a new way and imagine a renewed church that we can continue to build, grounded in Scripture and the experience of the early church when we return to this country after the pilgrimage. You remember John the 23rd told the council to go back to their sources, find out what the original sources say, what the perceptions of the early church, so that we could be renewed in that spirit. And that's the spirit that I anticipate are following in this pilgrimage. My approach to all of this in terms of these meetings and the material I'm sending you and so on is the standard approach of Jesuit education. This is all about active learning, you and me engaging with the text, engaging with ourselves, engaging with one another, praying, reflecting, discerning, and so on, in a way that calls into that calls us to use our intellects, our intuitions, and our emotions, our whole person, which is the person God created after all. So the general theme for this coming Sunday is going to be St. Paul in all of his complexity. He was a former Pharisee who still thinks like a lawyer and doesn't mind telling you what to do. He's a mystic whose life was changed when he encountered Jesus. He's the founder and animator of the early church communities. He was the encourager of the small community pre-hierarchical church. He was a poorly educated writer of hurried, unedited letters, and he's the apostle of spiritual formation for his own disciples, and so also for us. There are two principal themes that I'd like to present, asking you to choose which of these two you'd like to talk about, and then offer the opportunity for any additional topics that you'd like to talk about. We'd be sitting at small tables, so you could choose the table where you can discuss the theme that's of more interest to you. So here are the two themes that I'm proposing. The first one is St. Paul and his mystical experience. In other words, to think about mysticism, mystical experiences of God, silence, prayer with Scripture, Ignatian prayer, and so on and so on. And for this, I've sent you material on this in my emails of March 29 and April 13. Then the second topic is St. Paul's letters, the timeline of the first century and the growth of the early church, as we might see it in the letters to the Colossians and the Ephesians. And I sent you material on that in an email on April 20th. It's important to have a sense of the timeline St. Paul's writings all were prepared before the Gospels were written and the other letters of the New Testament. Some Protestant theologians like to claim that Paul invented Christianity and the Gospels followed on. It was not the Gospels that were central, even though they're central to our experience and our mode of worship. And then, as I said, we'll have a table or two for any of you who would like to choose other topics that you'd like to discuss. I'm thinking that it would be good if we could spend, say, at least half an hour, maybe 4:30 to 5 or to 5:10, talking in small groups so we all get to participate. There are, of course, ground rules. Everyone gets to talk. Nobody's required to talk. Some brave person has to start the conversation. I don't imagine that will be a problem. It's okay to change the subject. Just be courteous about it. Each of us is seeking what is true. Some truth is not factual. No one has a monopoly on truth, and we're not gathered to correct errors or erroneous thinking. The time is short, so please make every word count. So, Lisa will be sending you in another day or so a couple of dates in May when we're going to propose a simple supper. We'll provide some simple food, but it'll be a chance in particular to socialize, to get to know one another in an informal setting. I may offer some questions for discussion or something to give us a little bit of structure, but the emphasis certainly would be on getting to know one another. I will also be sending you a schedule of the remaining meetings, some of which will be more of a lecture format, but I'll let you know all that as I'm able to put all of these things together. So I really look forward to seeing you on Sunday. It's going to be a great pilgrimage. It's going to be a great day. And so be well, pray well, and I'll see you on Sunday.